Hello and welcome to Turning Point Tactics, a competitive kill team 40k podcast focused on giving you the strategies and tactics to seize initiative every turning point. I'm your host Ryan, and I'm joined by the inevitable grudge token to my Felgor Ravager frenzy, Conor. How you doing this evening, Conor?
I'm good, thanks, Ryan.
This is also a very special episode, as we are joined by the king of kill team content, the glass so full, half of it died laughing. A man so nice you'll want to welcome him twice. It's Andy from Glass Half Dead. How you doing this evening, Andy?
Hi, I'm doing well. I know that you pre-planned that, didn't you? That wasn't top of the dome, was it? Yeah, okay. Right. How long did it take you?
Days.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't want to admit it, but it took longer than it should have.
It came across, yeah.
But I think it's a good intro.
No, thank you. It was very. It was awesome.
Maybe there are people out there listening to this by some fluke that haven't already come across Glass Half Dead. If they haven't, would you be able to give a quick intro, Andy, about who you are and like what your channel is?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Andy, or as you kind of mentioned there, better known as kind of Glass Half Dead. I'm the dude whose face you see when you watch Glass Half Dead. I cover all things kill team. I tend to keep it pretty light and chatty, very chilled out, casual content stuff, very beginner friendly. You know, I never really go too deep on certain subjects, unlike you. I consider myself more of like a funnel into the wider world of kill team. I gather the noobs and then spread them out like I spread my seed. And, you know, if you guys, the deep philosophical debate of kill team, then I'm like the 160 character tweet. That's how I like to think of it. I'm also the host of a second channel, that's somewhat smaller, called Full Scale Wargaming, but that's more focused on 10th edition 40k than anything else.
Well, that being said, it also is dipping its toe into Kill Team because you've done a couple of battle reports on there focusing on Kill Team as well, right?
Yeah, so far I've recorded two, and by the time this goes up, one of them, which will of course be featuring the young, handsome Ryan from Turning Point Tactics.
I had to get a model in to do the young, handsome part. It's just the voice that comes across for the rest of it, but yeah.
So indeed, you and I have done a Gallowfall Hearthkyn Savages versus Felgor Ravagers on which will be the first like relaunch video battle report channel of Full Scale Wargaming. Yep.
Which people should definitely go and check out because it's going to be an awesome review or an awesome battle rep, but hopefully people can be able to see what the teams do in action. And you know, it should be interesting to see how we get on. Maybe we won't spoil it, but it's an interesting result all the same.
Definitely.
So clearly you are a board gamer or a sort of a war gamer.
I am bored, yeah.
You're bored listening to me talk about things, but also you're a war gamer. You play many different game systems, but your content has originally primarily focused on Kill Team and big 40k now. So why in particular Kill Team? What's drawn you to this as a game system rather than say going off and playing a different game?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's pretty easy to say that, you know, at the time of recording, at least, I think that it's kind of Kill Team is pretty much Games Workshop's best game. I personally value and like games that play quite quickly, and obviously 40k 9th edition is not a quick game, right?
No, it is not.
And I've just generally been a fan of and have been around the Warhammer 40k IP for like 30 years or something silly like that. Let's not think about how old I am. So, you know, like, and then Kill Team is the actual like approachable version of the 40k IP. So it's low cost, low time entry game that just kind of works really well for me.
Yeah, it's I'm a particular fan of the length of game, and the entry cost is also particularly nice. Bear in mind that you can effectively collect, I'd say, all of Kill Team's teams for probably the price of a big 40k army, which is nuts when you think about it.
It's great. Yeah.
Speaking of teams, though, clearly people want to know what teams you're playing at the moment and why it is that you prefer picking those teams over, say, other teams.
Gosh, yeah. So, I mean, you guys on this podcast are so dedicated to like being good at the game. And I'm like the opposite. I'm a total faction hopper, and I get bored really quickly. So I've got like, you know, I'll have like a grand idea that nobody else has ever had about a team, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm going to run that team. But then it hits the table and it doesn't work, and I'm like, try something else now. And instead of ever trying a second time. So like, I tend to play the worst specialist teams in the game for whatever you guys are meta chasers, I'm the anti-meta chaser. For example, I've recently had a bunch of reps in, and like possibly, maybe my most played team is like Hyrotech Circle. But now that they've been buffed, I'm never going to touch them again. So
It just
I
feel
guess,
wrong, wouldn't it? Just feel
yeah,
wrong.
no, yeah, completely. Even if they're not actually top tier now, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I played them when they were cool. Now it's so I'm probably going to go and look at like Wormblade or Warp Coven, based on their terrible stats, or I guess just failing that like as casual as possible, so like Intercession or Phobos.
So one thing I would say that is interesting is a bit of a theme amongst some of your models that I've noticed developing, and you'll see it if you watch the bat rep. Is there's a little bit of a Tyranid infection going on there?
Mm-hmm.
So are you just holding out for a little bit of high fleet action? Maybe is that going to be your go-to? Unless they're good, of course, you have to go for something else.
Oh yeah, no. So I actually couldn't. I love Tyranids, right? I just think they're super cool. I'm a Xenos guy all the way through and through. And Tyranids are super cool. So I'm really excited for 10th edition, where Tyranids are getting like the big relaunch. But we still don't have them in Kill Team, and I'm really sad about it, to be entirely honest with you. But yeah, High Fleet. I would love to play more High Fleet, but I'm also quite realistic, and like they're not good. In the same way that no compendium team is good.
They're
right?
the best of the bad teams.
Yeah, exactly. I think for compendium, High Fleet are great, but the game has moved on so much since a time when we could actually call any compendium team legitimately good. So they're cool, but it would just be 100% knowing I would lose many, many, many games in a day.
That makes sense. Speaking of losing many, many games in a day, clearly must be an avid tournament goer, right? You're straight on the competitive scene, diving on in there. But I 100%. Mean, what do you plan on going to tournaments this year? If so, which tournaments? Because I know that last year you actually organised a tournament.
I did
in London. So is that something you would look to do again this year, or do you have your eyes set on other things? What's the plan?
So yeah, I hosted that Troll Trader tournament in and around London. But since I've moved away from them, it's a little bit harder to do. And when you're organizing a tournament, the biggest fear is honestly that nobody turns up. And at least in London, I can like guilt trip people in the WhatsApp group to come along. So I could probably do it like at least 10.
It was pretty successful. You got 30.
No, it was. I think after drops, it was like 29 or something. But it might have been over 30. I can't remember. It was so long ago. But like, yeah, over here, I might put on a tournament and like I could put all of my advertising weight and only get like 4 people. Just who knows? Like, and so it's too scary for me, honestly. I'd rather
build it and they will come, Andy. Build it and they will come.
I don't think that's true, but sure.
Until they find out, it's in the southwest.
Until you tell them where it is. Yeah, they're all like, "Oh, it's in London. Yeah, I'm coming, mate." Wait, where? Nah. Oh, my back. Oh, it's like, yeah, sure. However, with that said, like there are a lot of kind of small tournaments near me. So I have recently been to 2 this year, and I do intend to go to more. Obviously, Fest is this weekend at the time of recording. So I'm not playing there, but I'm going there, and that kind of counts in a sense, in the sense that it doesn't, but I am there.
But you're at a tournament, right? You can say you've been to a tournament.
Yeah,
you have to enter it.
You needed to be more specific, if you wanted a better answer. But like the tournaments near me are quite small things, so like 12 man is kind of the largest. But that's enough for me. I'm cool with that.
Now, I did hear that you actually did win a local tournament.
That's
I think you may have beaten up a new player and a child to claw your way to gold, right? So
that's correct.
Is that true?
Yeah. So I played. It was great. So I think he was like 12, and he was playing Legionary, and he didn't fully know the rules, and he hadn't brought any concealed tokens with him. So, he was playing a very thematic Legionary there, I've got to say.
That sounds like Conor, the way Conor plays. I don't think Conor knows what a concealed token is.
Yeah.
I do look a bit older than 12, though.
Yeah. The age shows. At least 18, Conor.
And I played somebody else who was playing Intercession. And I thought, Intercession, okay, that's a tough matchup for Hyrotech Circle at the time. And it's like, oh no, he's playing intercessors from Compendium.
Oh,
Okay, a bit different. And I even said, like, hey, there's like a specialist intercession team. You could literally play that team, but get like +3 wounds on every model if you don't care about anything else. And he was like, nah, I'm fine. Like, okay, well, fair enough.
well,
Right.
you do you, man. Like,
Yeah, like, okay, he's playing his best game, right? Good for him. So yeah, like, but that's how it is. Like, I know that obviously you're focused on a very competitive scene and such, but I think it's good to remember that there is a reality to local metas, and like, obviously I came out of London and I'm very, very tied into the kill team community, so I know what really goes on. But there can be people that just like, oh, I just play any tournament that comes up within an hour's drive of me, and they never play anything larger than a 10-man tournament, right? And you just get what you get. You never know.
Yeah, we talked quite a lot on our previous episodes about understanding what your local meta is and how that might not necessarily translate to a larger meta, and trying to, ideally, if you can, if you're trying to be competitive and you're trying to get better at the game, expose yourself a little bit to other metas and see what else is out there, just to try and get that sort of that broad awareness. So that was one of our sort of previous competitive tips. As we have you on, and you have at least one tournament where, irrespective of the players being children on you or playing Compendium, you still won. So I think it'd be good to get like a top tip for competitive play or a tactical tip for the week. So we try to give our viewers one every time.
Yeah, of course.
Do you have anything?
Yeah. Blob of blue tack on your bases and barricades. Yeah, just enough so they have grip. It's an absolute lifesaver. Yeah, there you go.
You know what? That is actually, so I do that on my barricades every single game, and it is, without fail, must do. You absolutely must do it. Objective markers, barricades, and if you're a TO and you have enough blue tack that terrain down. Blue tack it down. Jason, the Sanctuary club the other day, when he went around in his tournament, did all of that, and the boards just stay there all day. Then nothing gets knocked over, no broken terrain. It's perfect. It's actually a great tip. Awesome stuff. Okay, final question about sort of competitive stuff, and then we're going to go into talking about Gallowfall, which is obviously what everyone is actually here for.
Yeah, indeed.
As much as I'm sure they're enjoying this chat, generically, people want to get into that. So my final sort of question, though, is how do you describe your play style? So when you're playing the game, how are you playing it? What are you trying to get out of it?
Right, so I knew you were going to ask this, and so I wrote down my answer, and I'm going to read it. But I do want to point out that when I wrote it, I just wrote from the gut, wrote from the heart. I was not attacking Conor when I said this. Okay? I just want to point that out.
It's always good to get the caveats.
I just wrote this, and then I thought, oh, right, Conor. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to read it. Okay. Casual. I just want to melee things because it's just easier to do. Far less thoughts required, and after having had zero melee capability with Hyrule Tech, I'm ready to swap my guns for axes. I've always found the game made much more sense when you just stay concealed until you charge, because then you don't need to worry about how line of sight works or anything complicated. There you go.
Beautiful.
Are you sure you two didn't talk about this before the game, before the podcast?
A little bit, yeah.
Sounds like you guys are cut from the same cloth, whoever. Okay, awesome stuff. All right, Conor, we're going to get into Gallowfall now, because that is the big exciting release. Before we do that, Conor, can you just give us a quick way, people listening, if they want to be able to support the podcast and give us a bit more help out there, what methods they could use to be able to do that?
Could I just want to know, have we got time for me to sneak a question into Andy? Just want to pick his brains.
Yeah.
So I think, like, we've all seen Aliens. We've all even seen Space Hulk from back in the day. You've been playing for 30 years, you would have done. I think we were all surprised there were no NIDs on the Gallo Dark. Yeah. So surely, 10th edition, NIDs have got to be the next kill team. What are you hoping for in that bespoke kill team?
Oh, man. So, I mean, it's a real tough one. I mean, first off, I think we can all agree that the White Dwarf teams are gone, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, we're not
going. Yeah, exactly. It's been a year. So or over a year, I think. So we can't look at the existing kits like the High Fleet and just say give them better rules, right? Like they did with Hunterclade, Warp Covenant, etc. And that means that anything's on the table, because they're literally releasing brand new units for 40k. So literally anything's possible. But I guess okay, so a realistic wish list, I guess, would just be new Gene Stealer sculpts and give them specialists.
Mm-hmm.
That's my realistic list. If I had to go further out, I'd say something like a new Ravener kit, and so give us Raveners, or so that you can play around with burrowing and stuff like that, because that just be funky.
I like that idea. So there is a few things that I like. So I think it's got to be Gene Stealers, right? They're one of the kits that haven't had a refresh. There's been no teasers yet. Warriors have had new models. They've got all these other new models. Lictor's getting a mini Lictor model. I think Gene Stealers is a great shout. And there was those special Gene Stealers. I forget their name, but they were I want to say back in 3rd edition or something.
The Yimgar Gene Stealers.
Yeah. I reckon it's gonna be something like that, and they're gonna be. It's got to be Catachan, right? Come on,
GW. Come on! I hope it's Catachan.
It's when we got all the promo stuff is jungled. They've released a new Guard Codex, and the only unit not to get a refresh in recent times is those Catachan Jungle Fighters, and they're 20, 30 years old. So, betting man, I'm saying it's going to be some specialist Yimgar, whatever it's called, Gene Stealers, trying to eat the brains of some Catachan in a jungle. That's my guess. But
that'd be sweet.
We'll see. Alrighty. Okay. Second attempt. Let us know how subscribers can give us.
I've rehearsed affiliate now a couple of times, so
you nailed it. Oh my God, excited.
Okay, so if you are
clutch in,
liking what you and want to support us, then if you hit like and subscribe, that's one way to get us some support. If we can get to 1,000 subscribers, then that's the point when YouTube begins to monetize us. Currently, I think we're sitting at, I think we've crossed 600 now. So thank you so much for all the support you're giving us. But if you want to give us some immediate support, you can join our Patreon, which costs us as little as £3 a month. And so that helps us because we can use the money. So, for instance, now we've managed to get Ryan a new microphone. So hopefully you're enjoying this ASMR episode. But it also gives you instant access to some exclusive Patreon-only content, as well as early access to all our videos and some special question and answer sessions that we can try and do as well. Finally, if you're looking to buy a new Warhammer, perhaps in a minute you're going to want to buy some Gallowfall or something along those lines. If you head over to Element Games via our affiliate link below and purchase your goods there, then we'll also get supported that way too.
Absolutely nailed it. We're getting better and better each week. Awesome stuff. All right, so let's push into then the meat of this podcast, which is talking about Gallowfall, because obviously we have 2 new teams that we want to talk through. And we have, this is the last ITD box with some additional terrain, I guess. And there's potentially a new GOAT meta incoming. So I think the best way to start this is probably just going to go by numbers, so people can get just a rough idea of what it is. Because if you want a detailed assessment of what the teams are and what they can do, you can head over to Andy's channel, Glass Half Dead, and you'll see his videos covering that. And if you want to see these teams in action, you can get over to Full Scale Wargaming and watch a full battle rep, so battle report covering these teams. So we just sort of want to do a quick baseline so we know what we're talking about. So Conor, do you want to start with the Hearthkyn Savages and give a by numbers overview?
Sure, yeah, so this is not a deep dive, this is just a baseline. So looking at the Halfling Savages, they are a recon security team with 10 operatives. That comes across as 10 activations and 20 to 22 APR because they have got some tricks to gain some additional free actions in there. Across the team, you've got 71 wounds with a 3+ save and 4+ ballistic skill. Also 4+ weapon skill. And 2 of their weapons are blast,
which is surprisingly few wounds. So they're base 7 wounds and 3 up save, which is it's a respectable save, but 7 wounds, that's going to be interesting to see. And the other thing that's worth noting about this team as well is that they're only 4-inch movement. Now it can never be modified to less than that, which is now a core rule. So I mean, sweet. But that's their baseline stats. Do you want to compare that, Conor, just in numbers to the Felgor Ravagers?
Sure, yes. If we go over to the Felgor Ravagers, this is a recon seek and destroy team. Again, also 10 operatives and can have 9 to 10 activations. They've got some opportunities to do some double activations there. 20 APL in total. This time maximum 103 wounds. They've got some beefy boys there, but only a 5+ save, 4+ ballistic skill, 3+ weapon skill, and only the 1 blast.
Yeah. So on paper, they don't seem too ridiculous. People are going to be thinking these are basically commandos, and that's that's fine. People can deal with that. Right. So let's go to Andy, because Andy's obviously has reviewed these teams. He's had a play. Just overall, what do you think of the box set, Andy? What do you think of the teams? Anything that you think that's going to stand out?
Right. So, I mean, obviously, it's the same terrain as always, right? We all know that, and we know how we feel about it. And I think we can all agree that although it's cool terrain, we're probably all ready to get something new in our boxes, right?
We don't need 4 sets of it.
Yeah. I can't even shift it on eBay. It's like, come on, guys.
I don't know. That mini hologram table was a pretty sweet purchase.
Oh, no. Hey, the narratives are great. Nothing wrong with that. If I mean, does anybody play narrative? I don't think so. But it's cool.
I don't know what narrative is.
No. My narrative is I win. That's my narrative.
Exactly. Win more. I don't know.
It's my thematic game. Yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting one because we kind of have 2 teams that both get stronger as they die. So they're in a sense kind of late game teams, which is like mechanically, thematically cool, and they do it in quite different ways. I guess it's like my general overview, but obviously we have like a very long time to talk about it in this podcast. But that's like as a general overview, yeah, they do thematically the same thing, but just completely differently.
Yeah, and that's like a really good point. So, and the way they do that is probably just worth touching on now. So, the Felgor Ravages, their frenzy ability, for anyone who hasn't seen Annie's video already and wants a quick rundown, effectively, every time you kill a beastman, they don't die. So, when they're incapacitated, they stay on the board, and they are not removed until you then go and incapacitate them again in melee through either a critical hit or 2 normal hits, or it has its next activation. Now, I can see this being a little bit problematic potentially, because if you're a team that doesn't say have a natural affinity in melee, so you don't have a way of potentially any lethal 5, any way to guarantee crits, or have a lot of attacks to be able to force through your attacks, then this team potentially is always going to be able to get the last laugh when it comes to melee and always be able to trade up really, really effectively. They feel like, to me, like the ultimate pressure team. And if you can apply that pressure, I don't really know if there's a way that you can stop them. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Do you have any thoughts on them, Conor? I mean, these sound like they're your
so obviously I am both a Capricorn and a lover of violence, so this team does appeal to me. I'll put that out there. It feels like the ultimate counter Pathfinder team, because like you said, they don't die, and Tau can't fight in combat. So how are they going to get that crit to deal with this? They're not even going to get the 2 hits they needed to deal with this. So, oh my god! But and I do like to look at solutions with one particular lens. I think this could be a solution for Khorne Legionary.
That's so funny you'd say that, Conor. Yeah, the solution is always Khorne. We know how you roll.
So I look in my toolbox, I see that single hammer, and I think
maybe this hammer is the one. Now you do make a good point though, because obviously Khorne on the charge can guarantee that crit. The only issue though is, and this is kind of my take on it, is you have to then kill them in melee first, because that's how Khorne basically operates. And these guys are 10 wounds, and they're hitting on 3s with 4 or 5 damage across the board, pretty much. Like you're going to take so much damage trying to kill these guys, and it's really going to hurt. So
that Shrive talent though, he could be quite problematic for them, I think.
Oh yeah, Shrive's going to be good. I think Shrive's, particularly with that lethal 5, guaranteeing those crits, I think he's going to enjoy this matchup. One other team which I think is weirdly going to be good for this matchup as well, which is one that wouldn't normally come to mind, is going to be Kasrkin. Because unlike any other team, which you're going to be rolling dice hoping for a 6, the Kasrkin player can just charge any of these pseudo-dead beastmen and guarantee that crit. And the same can be said about Novitiates as well, actually, with their faith points. But I think that's an interesting one, that the most shooting team or a team renowned for shooting is probably also going to be really good at dealing with this. But in general, what it feels like to me is unless you have good flex models to be able to both shoot these guys, get the initial kill, and then finish them melee, you're going to really struggle to be able to deal with them. And the amount of pressure these guys can put on you as a team is pretty crazy, to be honest. Okay. Do you want to just touch on the Hearthkyn Savages, Conor? Because I know you had a few points you wanted to raise on them about some potentially cool ideas.
Well, yeah. So this came from just a cursory glance at the book. I know you guys have actually played with it, so you might have some different ideas. And so one thing I spotted though that I will mention, they've got that rampart ploy. And for those who haven't got the book, it's they get to do a fortify. They get to pick a bit of light terrain as heavy terrain that's close to their deployment, and pick another barricade, I think, as heavy. So it's quite powerful. That's 1 CP. And you asked earlier, I actually said, who plays narrative? Well, actually, Ryan and I have played narrative. And one of the things
it was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Did you just flick to the wrong page in the book? I was drunk.
Yeah. But one of the things you can do in narrative is convert a piece of light to heavy, and it's actually very powerful. So one thing I'm thinking there is a combo. So they've not only got this rampart ability to make something heavy, they've also got a rotary cannon. And that rotary cannon, so it's like a relentless, not relentless, ceaseless rotary cannon. But it also comes with a new ability, Scan, which basically means that it can ignore obscuring. So he could be sat in deployment zone, being an absolute menace with one-way shooting. I think that's quite a cheeky idea. The other thing I spotted is a lot of their TAC ops are 2 APL, which is going to be tricky to pull off with a 2 APL team. But they also have another TAC op called Worth It, which lets them do a free mission action on death. Sorry, tactical ploy, yeah. So that might be a way to force it through, get a 3 APL model and do a free action. They're an interesting side. Oh, the other trick I spotted, again, these are all just hypothetical. I've been thinking of them. I have not play tested them. They might not work. But their lugger's got well stocked. Now he can basically change the loadout of a model that's close to him. And that's an opportunity for you to just shake up what your team was from the kill team step and do things. So one of the things I was thinking of, you could not have the missile, wait for your opponent to bunch up, and then give one of the gunners a missile launcher. And now they've got a blast to deal with that they didn't think was there a minute ago. So this feels like a cheeky side.
Yeah, I think that interestingly, they have the most depth from any team I've seen in a while that's come out.
There's 14 operatives, isn't there?
Yeah, and you can only take 10, so they're always going to be debating as to which ones you want to take, how you want to load them out, what kit options you have, because there's endless kit options and loadouts for this team. I think you're always going to play them as a recon team. That being said, their movement is difficult, but I feel like they're going to be like novitiates, where they're coming out alongside these Ravages, and people are probably going to get a little bit fixated on that Beastmen and what they're doing in the local meta, and I think that's probably where they're going to be. But I think when they get toned down or people walk away from them, and the Hearthkyn Savages might come back into it, because they have a few methods to get around that movement potentially. Andy, out of those two teams, like, do you have a preference on one of them? Does one of the teams vibe a bit more with you as an individual, or one that you particularly don't like?
Yeah, I mean, kind of, well, as we hinted at a little bit, for me personally, kind of like, I mean, Beastman is a weird theme that I just don't like at all.
Yeah.
And the Hearthkyn, like, I really want to like them, and I actually have all of their 40k releases, but I just don't like them. I mean, yet, at least. I'm still waiting for their Wave 2 release, and like maybe some, like a flyer in there will turn it around for me. But like, I don't know, Grudges are cool, Short Kings are cool, but their aesthetic doesn't work for me yet. So do I vibe with either of them? No, is the weird answer for that one.
So it's interesting because I used to play Mordheim when I was a kid for a bit. I had a Beastmen gang in Mordheim.
Oh, here we go.
This isn't me setting the scene for meta chasing, but I mean,
save some pussy for the rest of us, man. God damn.
but obviously, that's why I'm going to be playing Felgal Ravagers for next however long, because it's not because they're OP.
I said from the beginning how much I love Felgal Ravagers.
It's the affinity to my childhood, guys. It's nostalgia. But, no, the point I was actually going to make is, like, you could take those models right now from 40k and put them into Mordheim, and I don't think they'd be out of place, which is a really weird thing for a team where you're like, is this team, like, are they 40k? Like, sure, one's like a cyber beast man, but again, it's just this, as I think you said in the past, like, it's a power fantasy that I've never really had, is like a futuristic beast man sort of thing vibe going on. So I'll be interested to see how these teams go, because my gut reaction is I think the Felgal Ravagers is going to be really strong. The ability to just pair Seek and Destroy with their natural play style, the fact they're going to be quite a easy team to play, the fact they have quite a lot of movement shenanigans to get up the board, be hyper aggressive, get in your face, deny points, work really well with 6 objectives. Like, my gut says this is going to be a very difficult team, because they all basically in Death Atone, which is absolutely nuts. I think they can be really good, but I don't know how popular they're going to be, because I don't think a lot of people won't like the models. So it'll be interesting. But I know that there are some die-hard Space Dwarf fans out there, and maybe they'll be more popular as a result.
I like the fact that you have to assess your kill team with the Hearthkyn, because like we said, you got 14 options, but you only get to pick 9. You've got 5 gunner options. You only get to pick 3. There's loads of different equipment, loads of different loadout. That kill team selection step it hasn't been handed to you on a plate. You now have to think about, who am I playing and what do I want to do? And I just like that. I like that step.
I feel they're going to be very complicated, and I felt the other day when we played the initial bat rep, like, normally I'll pick up a team and within about 10 minutes, whatever, have a rough idea of what's best, what's worse, and how the team's going to play. I was reading that Halfling Savages book, thinking to myself, I don't know what the best option and loadout is here, because and I think the reason is because it's going to vary on every single matchup and every mission, and so you're going to be constantly want to tailor this list, which in a way is really cool. So if you're like a big 40k list builder fan and you love that psychological analysis and getting into the weeds and just list building for days, then I think potentially this team is going to be one for you, because they've got all that in there. But they also, they're inherently slow, which I really don't like, which doesn't really pair well with recon, and security is very easy to deny with Seek and Destroy teams. So I don't know, it's a tough one for me. Do you reckon people are going to overlook these a little bit, Andy, or do you reckon people are going to like Onion Novitiates, the way they're going to come back and resurge? What's your thoughts?
Nah.
Okay.
I think the Votan are going to be just fine. Like, I think they're going to settle like mid to bottom mid tier. I don't think we're overlooking them. Don't get me wrong. Beastmen, I think we can all agree, are probably going to be top tier and need a nerf. I think that's a fair thing to say. If you don't know what the Beastmen are, you're going to lose to them. And then they will be a team that you have to have a plan for. Much like everyone needs to know how to face Legionary and Intercession, you and Void Dancers, because those are also a weird team. And then the other 2 teams there, Intercession and Legionary, are like the most popular teams. This is another weird team that just plays fundamentally differently to every other team because of the fact they can ignore you killing them, but you still have to kill them. Beastmen are 100% going to be a broken team. However, I think the Votan are fine. And to be clear, I don't mean this in any way a negative thing. Everything is supposed to be middle tier. That's where we want things to be in reality.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's not like, they're underpowered. Not at all. They are exactly as they should be. I think that if you like the team, you can do just fine with them. I think they have the tools. They're annoyingly slow. That's their negative. But apart from that, they're going to be fine. However, I do think that I would only expect like the people that love Votan to be playing them because they are mid-tier. You're not going to get the top tier players jumping on them. I really don't think that's going to be an issue. And therefore, inevitably, the stats are going to be a little bit off because we're not having the best of the best playing them. The best of the best are going to be playing Beastmen instead.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good assessment. My gut says Halfling Savages, for exactly the reasons you just sort of said, are going to come in with like a 45% win rate. They're not going to get buffed. They're not going to get nerfed. They're going to be a hard team to play. I think that's one of the main things that I sort of want to draw out of this is that because they're so slow, you need to plan ahead on every single one of your turns. Like, if you're not moving up the board early, you will not have the movement potential to get it back. So if you're trying to get some of the recon secondaries to get close to your opponent's board edge, you have one model that can effectively move very fast with a jetpack, and the rest of them are slow. So you have to have a game plan. And then I think the Felgor Ravagers, I'm going to go out the door and say I think 65% to 70% win rate is what I'm going to say, which is
easy,
which is high, but I do think these could be the next Custodies because they are very simple to play in a sense that the game plan is you take Seek and Destroy, which already favors strong melee teams, and you turn one, move as far forward as you can and get 3 points on primaries, and then turn 2, 3, and 4, you kill as many of your opponent models as you physically can. And I don't know how.
And then you win.
And then you win.
And then you win. Like,
because you've maxed on primaries and you're going to max on your secondaries. Yeah. And I don't really know how people can stop you from doing that. Because you need to, like, I think the only teams that can maybe deal with this are your like legionaries, your intercession, if they can kill them in shooting and then get a crit in melee or 2 punches through. Maybe I was going to say Harlequins, but you know what? They're just going to they're just going to eat them. They're only 8 wounds, and they're going to eat them. Yeah,
I think the best way to think of them is that a good player isn't going to take a single of their models off the board until turn 3.
Yes,
They don't get touched in turn 1, and then they die in turn 2, but they don't die. So you're facing 10 models right up till mid turn 3. And they're wrecking you in melee.
For sure,
real tough.
It's gonna be gross. And if you play this team on capture, I am so sorry for you. So for anyone who needs a reminder, capture is the one which is just you need to get APL on objectives, and at the end of the turn, if you have more APL on that objective, then you score the point for it. So these guys are going to just run on objectives, kill the guy that's on there, die, but still be there for the objective control at the end of the turn, and there's going to be no way to take it off them without getting in there and trying to kill them in melee. So you're right, like if you're a Pathfinder player, I am so sorry. It's just gone from worse to so much worse. And I don't know. Actually, weirdly, maybe Exaction Squad are good against these guys. Like lots of shields. Are shields the answer to this? Parry first, only 2 attacks, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's the
Exaction Squad meta.
Exaction Squad meta. Is that what we're saying? Okay. Let's call it now.
They'd probably be counted by Votan though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'll just die to Votan shooting. Yeah. And they hate the 3+ armor save in their shotguns. So, it's going to be this is going to be a really interesting meta for the next few or the next 3 months because I don't really think anyone saw this coming. Because like when we're all talking about this team, and I was sort of like doing the what does the plastic tell us? I was like, well, how are they going to get in melee? Like, how is this team going to reach you and kill you? And it was a unique solution to that, which is they just don't die, which wasn't my go-to answer. I was like, maybe they just move really fast, but no, not dying was what we're going to go for. Do
they ignore movement? I was just thinking then about like how do Pathfinders deal with this, and I'm wondering if photon grenades is a solution. I don't know.
Slow them down? Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, so, they have the equipment which lets them move faster. Let me just double check what that actually says.
The war paint.
The
you
war
mean?
paint, yeah.
Yeah, so you mean the default pick that you put on all of your models.
Yeah.
You can ignore any or all modifiers to its opposite's movement and APL characteristics.
Oh god,
Yeah.
no. So
You're ignoring the modifier to the move, but for example, like the Hierotex Chronomancer Time Bomb thing would still affect it because that's not modifying the characteristic; it's just changing what they move at.
Yes. Yeah.
So they can still be affected, but not by everything.
Because the one downside to this frenzy malarkey is that you count as being injured. So that would be a problem unless you have this 1 EP equipment, which means you can put it on all your models, which you will do almost every game.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? And then you don't count as being injured for movement, so you're just going to run around the map killing everyone. And like the way that I'm going to describe these guys is like little 9-inch mines that even once you kill them, they're still there to hurt you. Greatest of all time GOAT meta. It's here. Rejoice. We'll see how it goes. But that's my hot take on them. Maybe I'll be horribly wrong. Maybe there'll be someone out there that figures them out. But I think, as I said, I think Hearthkyn are going to love this meta. Shoot them with the plasma gun, whilst on 3 APL, charge them, guarantee a crit with your knife, finish them off. Hearthkyn elite meta. Here we go. It's just going to be Hearthkyn and Beastmen from now, boys, in some weird smoking goats scenario.
What do you think about the Beastmen in like a mirror match? Have you thought about that at all, or is it just who goes first?
Yeah, it's going to be like one of the most bizarre things ever because, and this is the other thing about Beastmen.
It's going to get really technical, isn't it?
Because it's
when you charge.
It's not. Because the problem is even if you go first against Beastmen, initiative doesn't matter, which is like this is a real potential feels bad for players because you'll charge with one of your Beastmen and you will kill one of theirs, and they just won't activate that Beastman. They'll activate a different Beastman and kill one of yours, which you won't activate. You'll activate a different Beastman, and so it's gonna like run out of there's gonna be Beastmen dead everywhere, and it's whoever can then confirm the first kill next, I guess, to actually full kill a Beastman who isn't dead. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this, and I don't know who. I guess Khorne wins, don't they? Khorne always wins.
That's right.
So, yeah, we'll see. I'm going to watch the tournament reports with some interest on this one because I do think it will be interesting to see what comes back from them. But that's the hot take. Conor and I will eventually look a bit more into this and probably do a bit of a more detailed analysis on the teams, I think, going forwards. Okay, so Andy, we've got you on, and I think there's a few other things that we should talk about because you've started up a brand new channel. I say started up a brand new channel. It was already there, but you're sort of repurposing it.
Yeah, that's true.
And you're going with a brand new direction. So full scale wargaming. Talk to me about it. There's a bat rep out there now. You know, how'd it go? What can we expect on that channel in future as well?
Right. So yeah, we just played a game. Shall we briefly discuss that?
Yeah, let's do that.
No, because you have to go see it.
Okay.
Multiple times in this chat, I've wanted to say the outcome to make a point. It's like, no, not yet. But it was a hard fought game. But for any good battle report, I like to focus on the fun of playing and the two people playing. So I wouldn't take the results of that game as a definitive thing, to be clear. But if you just want a fun game, two people enjoying playing the game, that's what I really want full scale wargaming to be.
And it was a lot of fun. To be clear to people watching, the teams genuinely are good fun. Votan has loads of depth in those teams. And the Felgar Ravagers do what goats do. They just get out there and eat people. So it was a fun game.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't a sweaty tournament game, right? No. It was, hey, let's see what these two new teams do because it was both of our first time playing those teams. It was good fun. And so if you want to go see that, obviously go and check out the YouTube channel called Full Scale Wargaming. That battle report, just to be clear, at the time of recording, has not been edited, but fingers crossed by the time you are hearing this, it is live on that channel. If it's not, I don't know, like find my legs swinging from a rope or something, but it's fine. You know, we're recording this a bit early, but I'm sure it will have happened. Yes, so go check that out.
Awesome stuff. Okay, I reckon that's going to cover off pretty much everything that we wanted to talk about on this episode. Unless there's anything any questions you have, Conor, that you want to ask before we head out.
I said I wouldn't, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to give Andy a double hello. Hello, Andy.
Oh, only a double, not a triple hello.
Well, yeah, of course, actually, a triple hello.
We've been waiting for it. I love how like that was been your main thing throughout all of this is when can I get the double hello in? I like that.
That was very impressive.
You wait until the last few minutes. So it's good.
Wait, hold on. Let's see does that work?
Yeah,
there it is. There it is. It's what we always wanted.
There you go. Hopefully that was fun for you. Took me a little bit of time to set that up. There you go. Thank you.
Andy, is there anything else that you want to touch on? Do you want to tell people about anything that's coming up on Glass Half Dead that you're excited about, or anything else, or have you covered it all?
So I don't plan my life ahead at all. Let's be clear on that right now. Okay, so at the time of recording, we haven't gone to Fest yet, so everything I'm currently thinking about will have already released. So you'll have seen everything I did for Fest, and you'll have then seen all of my Gallowfall stuff. And I have literally no idea what's coming next. I guess the only other thing I'm currently thinking about is obviously Glass Half Dead's continuing. I'm hyped to do like more fun stuff, more fun casual chats there about, you know, speculation on what the next edition is, more tier lists, more playing compendium teams, all that good stuff. But then on Full Scale Wargaming, which is obviously kind of my more serious creative channel at the moment, where I'm actually putting like a lot of effort into things. Just me ramping up for 10th edition. Star Wars Shatterpoint is like a skirmish game in the Star Wars universe that's coming out that I hear is kind of like Marvel Crisis Protocol, same guys, but Star Wars. So I'm like excited for that. And additionally, obviously the occasional Kill Team Battle on there as well. So I've got a lot going on, but it's just more of the same.
Busy. And you also, of course, have the Vantage Point, which we managed to record, which is available to all your patrons, right? So if people want to go and get a bit more of a bit more of a competitive focus, you interview quite a wide variety of players on there, and it's a bit more of a chat about Kill Team. Then that's obviously available as well by signing up to your Patreon, which obviously supports Full Scale Wargaming and it helps you get the setup you need to be able to deliver those bat reps, right?
I mean, yeah, you've just seen my hot studio action. There's a lot of lights, and that was only possible because of my patrons. But to be clear, it's video for the patrons, but it is just available as a free podcast as well for everybody, but audio only.
Oh, okay.
On your podcast app of choice. But obviously, if you want to see the beautiful people, then you want the patron feed,
which obviously everyone wants to do because
obviously,
as everyone knows, it's a lot of handsome faces on there, and everyone wants to see middle-aged men talking about Warhammer in full HD. It's what you need, and if you don't think you need it, well, you're wrong. You're
wrong. Exactly.
Awesome stuff, man. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on as always. We've been working back and forth now on a few projects, so thank you so much for keeping me involved, and hopefully we'll do this again in the future because it's been pretty awesome. That is going to bring us to the end of this episode, and hopefully to the listeners out there, you found something new or useful whilst listening. And if you did, as I said, throwing us a like would be greatly appreciated. If you want to make sure that you don't miss any episodes, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as the next one drops. It really is the best way to help a small channel like us, because we're trying to get to that 1,000 subscribers, as Conor's already said, and we're about 600 and so now. So we're on the way up, which is pretty cool, and we're almost there. If you do want early access and you want to be able to get your questions answered, we have a Patreon where you get your Patreon priority questions answered live on the show, and you also get exclusive access to all of our content ahead of time. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback, so drop a comment below and we'll get right to you. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Ryan. This has been Turning Point Tactics, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.
Bye.